Hi and welcome. This is Amaury Khelify and today I'm going to show you how to build a successful startup without a CTO co-founder. I'm guessing that most of you are here because you are either searching for a developer, searching for a technical co-founder, maybe you have an idea but you are not sure how to get started, or you already have a startup project under development. If you have some difficulties to define what to develop first, or to find the right person or agency to develop your idea, that's totally normal. That's why we are together today. With this presentation, you're going to learn the process to build a startup product, the role of a startup CTO and how to supplement it, and how to get started without big investments. And I'm going to show you how my CTO Friend programs works and figure out if it's a good fit for you or not. Now, let's get started with a bit of perspective. What does that mean, building a startup? A startup is a new and fast-growing business, and it's mainly possible thanks to new technologies. We are in 2019, and it's the best time ever to do so. We have all different kinds of new technologies. Did you ever realize that it's been just a bit more than 10 years since the smartphone was introduced to a general audience? Before that, it was reserved for professional use only. I am willing to bet that most of you have highly specific set of expertise, probably deep understanding of a certain market. And that's the combination of technologies plus your business ideas that create business opportunity. In 10 years, most of the new concepts will have been created already, and it might be too late. That's why it's time to help people with technologies. And that's what any business is all about, right? Providing something that helps people. And it's perfectly normal to miss opportunities, not always finding the shortest path or best technology to build your solution. And that's also what Sam Altman said, the CEO of the accelerators Y Combinators. He said, execution gets divided into two key questions. First, can you figure out what to do? And secondly, can you get it done? Now, to get it done, let's dissect what you should know to make it happen. So it's time to become a better tech serial entrepreneur. And always keep in mind that you are in a learning process. I created my CTO Friend because I don't want you to learn the hard way, like I did, I want to bring you at the next level. I want you to learn from experts, from people who already did it. Among the things to learn, I have a very good news for you. It's not mandatory to have a CTO from the day one, neither a developer. Of course, it's easier with the tech co-founders, but being free to build a business first and then hire the right person down the road has some advantage as well. And this is not the only good news I have. In fact, there are several myths and false beliefs that I would like to tackle straight away. Unless you already have a tech partner which you worked with for years, it's very difficult to find someone to develop your concept against equity. The second myth I would like to tackle is that you need much more than a developer. Many founders come to me to ask if I know developers to develop their startup. But there are hundreds of things to do before starting the development. And you can even generate money upfront, right? Third thing, it is not mandatory to have a CTO to get started and raise funds. The mandatory is to control the development side of things, and I am here to teach you that. Another crazy idea some founders have is to learn to code. But come on, it takes years to be a good developer. You are going to waste your time. You don't need to learn to code, but to learn the basics to manage developments. And last thing, you need more specifications than just a copy of Airbnb for X or Z, or the Tinder app for Y, etc., etc. You need to prepare your project so that when you start development, your process has already been tested. In other words, developing a specific software is the last thing to do. Instead, there are dozens of ways to prototype and provide value to a target customers. No matter if you already have a technical team or if you are just in the IT stage, with today's presentation, I want to ensure that you are on the right path. So you are going to get a deep understanding of the CTO roles. You are going to learn how to supplement the CTO roles in the early stages. And now let's state what you are not going to get. You are not going to find a developer. I do not provide any development services. And by the end of this presentation, you are not going to know how to build your product, but instead you will know which type of profiles you really need to get it done. In reality, I want you to have an actual and real control of your project development. I don't want to see any more startup founders misled by developers or web agencies just chasing after their paycheck. And if you are in the process of associating to someone, we will touch on the essential to validate before moving forward. The roots of this presentation is simple. The only way for a CEO to thrive with a startup project is by having a true understanding of what an experienced startup CTO does. And the only way to take on the CTO roles without actual CTO is to learn what's easy enough yourself and to know how to delegate the rest wisely. And we are going to get quite deep to make it crystal clear so that you will understand what roles people around you, providers, freelancers, etc. can have for your project. Right before to get into that, I think it's time to introduce myself for a bit. My name is Amaury Khelaifi, as you might know, and I grew up in a very small town called Annonay in the Ardèche. It's in France. It's pretty much the middle of nowhere in France. As a teenager, I was playing with electronics and programming while my friends were playing PlayStations. At 16 years old, a few days before summer break, I broke my leg so that I was glued to my bed for over than 2 months with nothing but a laptop and a pretty slow internet connection to play with. Being my geeky self, I took the time to learn programming. And you know what? 2 years later, the same thing happened. This time it was my knee and I had surgery and learned more and more about scripting, programming and managing servers. When I was a kid, I always wanted to become an inventor, and that's exactly what I am today. I invent for others, I generate new ideas and I share them with my tribes, made up for all the startups I coach. And I give startups technical, marketing and business model ideas on a daily basis, sharing all my knowledge through podcasts, YouTube videos, online courses, and above all, private coaching. And I'm even currently writing a book called Startup Without CTO. But before coming to the startup world, I spent almost 10 years of my life working for large companies. I started by teaching complex server management. For those who don't know what a server is, it's like a professional computer usually connected to the internet. And I later became a manager in the banking field, industrializing every project I got in my hands. Until one day, I took a look at the person working beside me. He was an engineer, 60 years old, and he had been working to the same type of jobs for almost 40 years. And at that exact moment, I realized that I spent enough time working for others and it was time to create something on my own. Just to compare, when I was preparing this presentation the other day, I chose a great coffee shop in front of a big park as my office. I could do a different location every day if I wanted to. It's not like I don't have an office, I do have one that actually doubles as a recording studio too, and that's where I am now. But working in different environments stimulates my creativity. So, don't get me wrong, I am a hard worker. I am very effective, and I just plan my day as I want. And if I want more money, I just work more. And if this month I prefer to lay back and spend more time with my family, I just slow it down. Now you might wonder, why am I sharing this with you? If you are building a startup, you might want to chase after the Google or Facebook workflow, right? Especially being so creatively stimulating. Now, you know, we are in 2019 and I believe that every entrepreneur should build their own dream lifestyle. It's just a matter of finding the right way to be effective while generating the revenue we want. Believe it or not, the founder's lifestyle is the foundation for any great company's culture. This is what will draw your company, will resonate with people that you are going to hire, salaries, you are going to inspire them. And you will also attract partners, investors, and people with similar mindsets. That's how we build companies today. For instance, my own professional mindset or culture is to work as a distributed team, to keep traveling and allow people I work with to do the same, and in general to really listen my team's needs and to do my best to make them happy to work with me. That could be things to do or to learn, or avoiding certain tasks that maybe they don't like doing. So let's do yourself a favor. At the end of this presentation, take either 15 to 30 minutes to describe what your future business will look like in maybe 3 years from now. Define where will you be? How many customers will you have? How many salaries? How many followers? Where will you live? Will you have a formal office or a remote management style startup? What will your annual turnover be? Or what will a usual working day look like? I mean, envision your futures, etc., etc. Try to imagine which type of person you are going to work with. And like Basil Walsh said, if you don't know where you are going, how can you expect to get there? Defining where you want to be is the only way to define your best next step. So do it for you. Plan a quiet time right after this presentation, or if it's not possible, maybe later this week, and write down on a piece of papers where you want to be in 3 years. And I recommend you to stick that papers to the wall in front of your desk. That will help you to keep focus on your goals. And keep in mind that these visualization techniques should work for you, not against you. You need to define what your vision is as of today, and depending on difficulties, opportunities, or any other time life gets in the way, you might want to change your plan down the road, and that's absolutely fine. So, assuming you will soon have that clear picture of where you want to get, the real question for you is this. Are you all in? Think to yourself. Are you willing to learn what needs to be learned? Willing to put the required efforts and invest in your project? Are you ready to take big steps forward and overcome your challenges? Know that if you want my help, I will be sharing with you all my know-how to save you lots of struggles, times, and money as well. So let's make it happen, starting with today's content. And decide right away what actions you are going to take after learning what is in this presentation. And now get to the process to build a startup product. Starting with a clear idea is a very good start, but it's not always that easy to find the right process to build your solution and start generating revenue, right? So to help you understand that process, let me share Tatiana's story. Tatiana is the founder of Prime Target, a SaaS tool that evaluates an international market's potential by using global statistics and artificial intelligence. She came to me in early 2018. She thought that she had found a technical co-founder when she met an AI engineer. He started work as a freelancer first, building an AI algorithm. And that was never finished. And he never delivered because he claimed to have spent more time that he was paying for. So she invested $8,000 for nothing. The sad thing is that Tatiana is not the only one. It's just one among many. I am sure you've heard the story. I myself have dozens of startups that struggle with similar situations. Source code access and property disputes are not uncommon between developers and business founders. It's a tricky relationship. Things turned around for Tatiana when I saw the potential of her project, and with my help, she hired a suitable developer and produced her first prototype in just a few months with only 30% of the initial investment. At the end, her idea proven worthy, she moved to a real product development and sold her first high-ticket license just 11 months after coming to me. Depending on the complexity of the AI, it could even be less time than that. Here is the process I went through with Tatiana. First, we brainstorm on the ideas, different possibilities. Then, we build a list of functionalities she had pictures for her final solution. We identify what all those functionalities had in common, and I evaluated the different technical solutions to build a prototype as soon as possible. And we end up with few choices. Either developing a draft platform with outsourcing, or focusing on the AI proof of concept, or creating beautiful reports with business intelligence tools, or connecting multiple tools to have a simple website. And for Tatiana, specifically, we end up doing a bit of the number 3 and the number 4. So we identify the right business intelligence tool to build her prototype. We identified together the fastest way to gather worldwide statistics and how to display data beautifully. And then we used multiple SaaS tools and API to connect the dots and create a first customer experience, from the custom request to a custom report. Pretty good process, right? And this process worked for Tatiana's project. Is it going to work for you? Maybe. Will the assessment be the same? Probably not. And will you be faced with the same decisions as Tatiana? Definitely not. And that's why you need to build your own process. To help you doing this, here are the common steps I use with early stage startups. First, the idea brainstorming with business and technology opportunities. Then, prioritize the idea and functionalities. Redefine the business vision, with the new ideas you have, it might influence the real positioning of the project, at least for the first stages. Then define clearly who are the first customers, attract them, talk to your early adopters, the first customers, get to know their habits, identify what are the smallest offer you can provide them in order to help them achieve what they do. It's like the job to be done methodology, you know. Then build the smallest offer and sell it, and optimize your client's process by adding more features to the offer. And finally, industrialize what can be done automatically. So that's my process to help building startups. And if we search on the web, you will find hundreds of methodologies and processes. And they are great books too about business model, the lean startup design, design sprint, the lean startup methodologies, etc., etc. Having studied all these books, and from it, I have designed a specific and customized process for Tatiana's project, as well as a process that works for me in order to help startups. Nevertheless, there is no magic recipe to create an innovative startup. Process and theories show us how to design screens, to ask customers if they like something or not, if they would buy it or not. But these books are very valuable, overall must-reads for any startup founder. But what these books lack is how to actually build the product. They don't answer things like what's the best technology to build my prototype, or to get prepared for the following stages, or what type of developers or CTO do I need for my specific project. And I think we can agree that more than methodologies, technologies, or even type of developers, what a startup founders actually need is someone to help them make the right decisions. And building a startup is not about left or right or black or white. It's hundreds of gray tones of decisions. And that's why you need someone capable of understanding the business opportunities, of identifying the best technologies available, and to build your own process while considering the future stages of your product development. And that's what a good CTO is all about at the end. A CTO understands the business and has an ample knowledge of every technology available to guide the CEO and the technical team in building a product and reaching goals one after another. So to sum up this first part, if you were thinking that a process is key to defining a product and your positioning, you are definitely right. But it's not enough. There isn't any fixed process for the technical aspect of building a product, and especially for the prototyping stage. Almost everything relies on technical decisions you will make when choosing technologies to use, at which stage, and consequently with whom you decide to work. So the formula to build a successful product is this: a good market positioning plus properly executing the CTO roles leads to build a product or a service happily used and paid by customers. In conclusion, by now you should understand why the CTO role is so crucial and why everyone is telling you to get a technical co-founders. It's also because development providers are more intent to sell you their development time more than brainstorming with you on how to avoid costly developments or how to optimize your business model with technical hacks. So I hope you get the points. And now let's tackle the real topic of this presentation: how to build a startup without a CTO. Don't pay attention to people that tells you that a CTO is required. Instead, show them that the CTO roles are properly executed and show them proper roadmap and your ability to prove your market with low-cost prototype. So to do it, let's get deeply to what startup CTOs do and how to supplement them. A few years ago, a quite known founder in the local health market contacted me to perform an audit for his startup, on which he ends up investing almost $500,000. He found a technical co-founder early on, and even though this was officially the CTO, he acted as a developer, creating the product from scratch for more than a year. Shortly after the launch, tensions were high between the CTO and the CEO, and I did my best to help them save the company, but it was too late. The CTO actually turns down the servers, stole the source code from the company, and blackmailed the founder to get paid for the time he invested in the project. Needless to say, it ruined the project, it ruined the company, and neither got what they wanted. Unfortunately, this type of things is very common. So what happened? Let's break down what leads startups down this road. They started from an idea. They had the means, the money to develop the product. They did it and launched it, and it didn't do as well as expected. So CTO and CEOs blamed on each other. 90% of startups failed. So why would anyone in their right mind bet $500,000 on something that is probably going to fail? Why not just invest 5K or 10K? You could even do as little as few hundreds. It's because people don't know how to start small. They usually develop the envisioned product right away. They both had good reason to be mad, but the real culprit was the lack of a roadmap. And that's on the product manager, the product owner role. Let me elaborate for a bit. So instead of jumping headfirst, investing tens of thousands developing the entire product, a good product manager would have gathered the first group of clients, even if it were providing manually the same services the platform is supposed to at the end. Without complex development and coding, just plain human and old human interaction through email, social media, private groups, etc., etc. Does that ring a bell? That's the essence of the book I mentioned earlier on the Lean Startup methodology. Many read it, but only few actually implement it. The moral of this story is that getting a technical partner without the product management skills is a really risky move. So the first role of a CTO needs to have is the product manager. And because there is a difference between being able to do something and being an expert at it, I would like to introduce you the second role of a CTO, which is the technical expert role. Do you know that it exists dozens of languages, thousands of frameworks, and frameworks are just methodologies to use a specific languages. And there are millions of API services and existing softwares that you can reuse on the web. A good developer is almost always specialized in one or two languages. With experience, they will be able to build software faster and faster, but their improvement is limited within those few languages. Often, they will probably start coding something right away just to impress you. And that leads me to share a secret with you. You might be a great judge of character, but that does not apply when it comes to evaluate a developer. And the fact is, the developers have no idea if they are good or not. Think about it. If a developer wants to build something, anything, he codes it, If he don't know how to build something, he's going to Google it, follows a tutorial, and usually it works. In other words, a developer cannot fail. Some have huge egos, thinking their massive talent is the missing puzzle piece of thousands of startups. So even if developers themselves don't know what the best solutions are, how you, without technical background, can you figure out which language, framework, or API services are the best for your project? How can you recognize which type of developers will be the most effective to build your product? And finally, how can you evaluate the level of your next developer if you know nothing about their specialty? So I myself don't have the skills to evaluate and audit every single language or framework in the world. As a CTO and former expert in cloud solutions, I know basically how to read and write codes. I code my own startups back almost 10 years ago. But when it gets too specific for like AI or virtual reality or game creations, etc., etc., I just rely on experts. I pay them for their advice, and it's very convenient because within just a few minutes, they can answer things that will take me years to learn myself. And I want you to learn to do exactly the same. And if possible, try to do not rely on your development providers, because development providers will always push to develop things and to sell you development time, right? And on that note, if you were already been searching for a developer, let me just tell you something. Unless you know what skills and programming language you need, it's probably too early for you to start real development. Instead, you need someone to point out existing way to build the solution faster and maybe to build a prototype first, or at least to guide you towards the best solutions for you and your project. Next, while the first role of a CTO is to be a good product manager, the second role of a CTO is to be a tech expert in the area your product really needs, you know? So when something falls out of the CTO's expertise, it's their job to find the right expert, a whole new skill in it of its own. And that's what the third role is all about, being a good IT manager. So what's a manager? And more importantly, what makes a good manager? I work with dozens of great managers, and most importantly, the skills I noticed with them is they are great listeners. They do not only listen to their clients' needs, but the product owner's needs, as well as the developers' feedbacks and recommendations, etc., etc. And a very great example of this is Brendan, the CEO of the startup Easyware. Back in 2017, Brendan asked me to audit their solution and their technical team in order to accelerate. Business was great, lots of opportunities, but the development team was too small. The company was 25 salaries together at that time, and they couldn't keep up with clients' demands. So, long story short, with less than 2 years, they doubled their size, they acquired an AI company, and grew from 25 to more than 50 salaries. And with my help, we defined what skills they needed, and I helped them selecting the right people to execute their vision. So this type of growth is only possible through great managers who listen and also know how to lead technical teams, which includes maintaining control of development, managing providers, setting deadlines and managing contracts, controlling source code access and infrastructure access. So remember the health tech example. Most conflict between tech co-founders and CEOs happen because of source code properties and access. So keep that very, very important things in mind. The source code produced for a company needs to belong to the said company. Period. You have to own the source code repository. That is the place where developers store their daily works. It's like a Google Drive or Dropbox directory, but for code. It's like being the owner of a land before building a house on it, right? Now let's sum up the roles of an early stage CTO. It's product manager, technical expert, and the third role of a CTO is to be a good IT manager, willing to listen as well as keeping control of the ongoing developments to meet deadlines. Last but not least, we need to cover the less known of the CTO's roles, the innovator role. It may sound obvious, but this role is grossly overlooked and underestimated in startups. Coincidentally, it's also the role where I provide the most value. To illustrate this role, let's talk about Mars Innovation. This is the biggest accelerators in south of France. There, I have mentored dozens of startups as product manager, a technical expert, and IT manager, helping them get started and grow their team overall. However, I've always had the most impact with early stage projects, and that's when everything is still possible. Altogether, having worked with more than 110 startups by the end of 2018, I realized that a good CTO is not only a good product manager, tech expert, or IT manager. I've seen so many business models, technologies, team challenges. I've seen what works and what doesn't, so that I consider my role now as an innovator, a tech innovator. And I don't claim to know it all. I just keep learning every day, and that's what makes my job so amazing. But what I have developed is the ability to understand a project at a very deep level and in a very fast way. To understand what the customers want and which technical solution would be the best fit for the customers as well as for the founders and maybe the investment he want to put in the project. So to me, being an innovator means being technically creative, like an inventor, having good business skills and an extensive experience with working with startups. I can draft a prototype and guide a CEO through assembling their first product with almost no coding technologies. Sometimes it may require, let's say, 2 or 3 hours with a developer, but usually it's less or even nothing. It's just a matter of knowing how to play Lego with existing solutions. For instance, I was able to create the very first My CTO Friend mobile app in less than a day, just by using Google Spreadsheets as a database for all my content and gathering YouTube videos, address, and images in one place. No coding, no single line of code for doing this. And you know, there is much more than the technical aspect. The biggest eye-openers I've provided have been on brainstorming on monetization and generating temporary revenue while they get used to their audience and build that audience and really figure out what they really need. Sometimes it's just using voicemail instead of a website, or a mobile application. Instead of a mobile application, we can use phone or emails. Just we can sell through email, it works. And over time, you will add existing technologies like maybe image recognition, voice recognition, or virtual reality, or any types of technology that can facilitate your work as a solution provider and that will improve the customer's experience as well. And there are so many exciting possibilities when you understand your options from both the business and technical perspective. And the real know-how is not only in brainstorming, but actually coming up to an action plan with deadlines and budget constraints. So to wrap up this section, let's see how without a CTO, you can overcome the lack of a product manager, a tech expert, an IT manager, and above all, an innovator, finding ways to build rapid revenue sooner. First, we have to say that it takes at least 10 years to become a good CTO. Between coding, amassing experience, mastering certain technologies, as well as becoming a good manager. However, I've witnessed many non-technical CEOs being very good at managing CTO tasks like managing people, evaluating development costs, and communicating with technical teams. And in just few months. A startup I worked with named Baiko is a great example of this. Carl, the founder, had this great vision of building a collaborative platform for container shipping. It's like Uber, but for freight shipping. He was first able to act as the product owner, and with the help of a development company, he defined what the first version would be. From there, Carl was able to build a fast-growing startup on his own. He was able to recruit Ronan, a great product manager who took the product owner role very seriously. Connecting the dots between the client's needs, the expectations, sorry, of the sales team and of the technical team as well, shaping the product to where it is today. So basically, Carl and Ronan prioritized the roadmap, dividing the application in pieces that can work independently. Since then, they hired several engineers and ultimately a CTO. They are now 20 salaries and keep growing every year, working on fascinating fields like security and blockchain. So, question. If Carl, as a no technical CEO, was able to become a product manager, at least for a few months, do you think you can do the same? Sure thing, you can learn it. Carl would have struggled less with a CTO by his side, but he managed without one. Learning how to shape your product, to define its simplest form, to provide value with a little investment as possible is not an easy task, but mastering this skill will not only help your project now, but also prove useful the rest of your entire entrepreneurial life, So, as a CEO, you need to take this seriously and become good at it. It will help you delegate development effectively and even raise funds sooner, since you will have a clear, prioritized vision of what to do and how much it will cost. Now let's talk about a bit more complex role, the tech expert role. I am very familiar with this one because I have performed dozens of technical audits in different environments. For example, Carl from Baiko asked me to audit his infrastructure and document its existing architecture back in 2017, right before recruiting his first CTO. Having a third party audit his code and give him some insight was the right move for Carl. This type of review is vital for building a specific action plan so that it provides you the know-how and you really know if you can rely on the developed software in the long term. However, with experience, I've developed a better approach. Instead of waiting a year or two for the first technical audit, I surround myself and therefore my client's projects with technical experts on specific areas. I found it more efficient to analyze development on a regular basis and make improvement suggestions along the ways. That's why my CTO friend integrate experts, quick audits on specific technologies so that they can frequently and shortly check my client's code, creating discussions with developers on code improvements. So to fulfill the tech expert role, surround yourself with the best people you can find for each technologies, like a good IT manager would do. And in fact, that's where I want to bring you, to become a good IT manager. These days, paying people is not enough to get good work done. We need to provide people something they like doing, a real purpose, So even if you find someone who has the right technical skills, ask him or her what they want to do in life, where they want to be in 5 years, and how working with you today will help them move towards those goals. A good manager is somewhat a manager 2.0, a career coach, I would say. That's how I see management. And it allows me for my own needs to keep working with years with the same people, letting them be freelancers or not, while still being very happy with the work I provide to them. And the secret to this is to make people learn. In the startup world, there is no room for forcing things, Over the years, I've seen two types of managers. Managers who order things and managers who inspire. And the first were always struggling delegating developments because communication was only one directional. But we work with humans and we have all desires, constraints and needs. And it's your duty as a manager to give your team what they like and how they like doing things. So have you considered working with great developers at a cheaper price by providing maybe the freedom to travel the world and work remotely? It might be challenging from a management point of view, but it's definitely something that's worth trying. Startups like Zapier, Basecamp, or InVision App have hundreds of employees working from all over the world. And that can be part of your mindset, your culture. You can do definitely the same. It's up to you to manage the way you want and to get things done the way you want, to attract people that you really want to work with and that will fit to your the way you work and you get things done for yourself. So the good news is that there is nothing technical in being a good IT manager. Of course, you will learn a lot of things, how different softwares can work together, what is a database, a server, and among a lot of other things. But you can learn it on the job, and become a good IT manager in just within few months. So to fulfill the IT manager role, the best option is to learn it. Get some management courses, get an IT manager coach, ask people you work with to explain you things, etc., etc. This skill is really a must as a tech startup CEO to organize the growth stage and to learn how to delegate things. And now, last but not least, let's talk about how to handle the role of the innovator. If you remember, the innovator would be the person with tons of startups experiences, someone able to find shortcuts building softwares and who knows how to build prototypes faster, as well as with a deep understanding of the business side of things and being able to mix both technical side and business side. That's a tall order to fill, right? Even in the tech world, it requires using methodical tools in highly effective ways. So, to help you understand what an innovator do, I want to invite you to learn as much as you can about technologies and different ways to implement them. And I suggest you reading the Product Hunt and TechCrunch news. And there are three main things I want you to look at for and analyze in other startups to develop your innovator mind. First, how other startups implemented technologies to provide values. That's the first point. Secondly, how they build business models around the value propositions, because you can also innovate in the way you offer things. And finally, how they attract customers, what their growth techniques are, the growth hacking techniques it could be as well. And this is how you can learn to become a better innovator yourself. You are obviously not going to be an innovator or a senior innovator overnight, but just by reading that tech news, you will have a better awareness, understanding on what it's possible. And it will help you in the ideation process. So, in order to build your startup in a really timely manner, you have to find first a coach or a mentor or an experienced tech startup entrepreneur to challenge you, your ideas and the way you execute. It can also be another startup founders with more experience as well. So to conclude that part, for the innovator role, just be tech updated and find a very experienced tech advisor with extensive startups experiences and prototyping skills. And now, I guess that if you have a developer in mind or a co-founder or maybe a provider, you will have a better understanding of what their roles are and above all, what complementary roles might be required for your project. And one of the questions you might wonder now would be how to move forward with a potential developer, provider, future co-founder. Let's just direct that process together in the next section with how to build a digital product without big investments. Obviously, hiring a full-time CTO from the get-go is rarely an option. A senior level CTO costs at least $15,000 a year, and if you are in a big city or in a tech area like the Silicon Valley, it can triple or quadruple. So some of you might think you need thousands of dollars to build your first product and start selling. Or maybe you think that you can't provide value without investing upfront, right? Wrong. You can start a business without big investments. And a good example I know is the French startup BAM.Archi. They generated more than 8 million euros of turnovers without a single line of code. In the early beginnings of 2016, I remember mentoring Matthias and Boris, the two co-founders, and their question was, should we keep moving forward with external tools or develop our own tool now? And at that time, they were generating their first revenue and started to worry about not having a dedicated product. And my answer was simple. Keep generating revenue. This technical side of things will come. So indeed, when I got some news 18 months later, they had generated millions in turnover and were migrating on their own product development by recruiting a very good CTO. So now, would you like to know how Matthias and Boris did it? Are you ready to do the same for your own project? The first strategy to apply is a no-coding strategy, or almost with no code. I am not just talking about fake applications, rather real functional prototypes reusing existing softwares. I've already mentioned, but I am a very big fan of the Lean Startup methodology, and I encourage founders to use this approach and invest as little as possible. You know, prototyping is not that complex. It's like playing Legos with existing tools. So you can use Google Spreadsheets, API connectors, tools like Zapier or EFTTT, marketing automation tools, etc., etc. And in some cases, it can require just a few lines of code to connect the dots. And it's okay to start with an e-commerce website or a WordPress plugin or an app maker solutions. It's unlikely to become your long-term product for sure, but it can surely help you generate your first thousands, or like Boris and Matthias, your first millions. Obviously, it won't meet all your end product expectations, but it will be enough to provide value and start selling. So do not invest in software development unless you are already providing similar services in your market. Instead, invest your time and energy in this second area, the sales. And to develop this point, I have a question for you. What does SaaS stand for? Do you know? Software as a services, which means that the software is going to provide a services. But how can you dare building a software that provides that services if you don't know by heart how to provide that services manually yourself? That being said, investing right away in the software without having tested a service-based offer is insanely risky. So use no coding strategy to create small tools to provide services with them. And yes, I recommend one-on-one services. Then industrialize your process to replace yourself by software, pieces after pieces. And this is how big SaaS founders made it at some point. As example, Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, visited all the apartments in New York and took pictures himself to get started, you know? So when I mention selling early on, I don't mean hiring a salesman, of course. Technical background or not, the CEO will almost always be the best person to sell the solution. We hire salesperson whenever the CEO doesn't have enough time. So first, no coding strategy, then sell, and learn from what your clients want. And until then, every dime dedicated to sales should be invested in business development, going to conferences, and always searching for new ways to reach your clients and meet their expectations. And I often invite clients to sell via phone, emails, or simply landing page or voicemails. And until then, every dime dedicated to sales should be invested in business development, going to conferences, and always searching for new ways to reach your clients and meet their expectations. I often invite clients to sell via phones or email or simple landing page with voicemails client support. It will be the best help to tweak your SaaS software later on and really understand the process that your clients are willing to take on. And last but not least, there are people out there who have gone through the same process of building a startup. So reach out to them and get their advice. Get a mentor, a coach, an advisor to back you up. A good way to find them would be in Accelerators program. Just make sure it's just unbiased advice. For example, as a CTO coach, I review developers' resume and web agencies' proposal on regular basis. And there is nothing in it for me. I mean, I don't get commissions from this agency or these developers. That enable me to provide a fully objective feedbacks. So try to find people that will not be too involved in further developments, so to be sure you are not going to be misled. So at the end, no matter if you have the investments or not, I recommend you to do like Matthias and Boris. Prototype, sell, and get help early on. Invest in people who knows how to create your first solution, who can redirect you towards the perfect Lego blocks combinations and teach you how to use them. So now that you know the process of building your prototype and then developing your long-term product, you might need a bit of help from a developer or maybe from your future CTO co-founder. And maybe Hamlet will say, to pay or not to pay, that is the question. So let's talk about your 3 options to get someone on board your product development team. First, getting him or her as a co-founder, giving away some equity, which is quite the same as the previous one, but without long-term involvement. And finally, you can also pay for services. So to analyze the pros and cons of each, I am going to share the story of a startup I worked with called Trendywork. Trendywork basically helps hotels and restaurants transform their spaces into working spaces. Back in 2017, they found a development provider that was supposed to develop their first version and maybe become a business partner later on. It turns out that after 6 months, the product owner and the IT manager role weren't properly filled, and they had to cut ties. They found another agency. They built a balanced work environment with all the roles correctly fulfilled, in which they were eventually able to redevelop the entire marketplace from scratch in just a few months. So the good news is that by hiring service-based first, they were able to partner up with a second agency, the right one, trading equity whenever the first developments were accomplished, and they are now a strong team of 7 people overcoming all sorts of challenges. So with that story in mind, let's see the pros and cons of each format in details. Solution 1, becoming a co-founder. It's like getting married, you know. You shouldn't put a ring on someone you just met. It's too risky. And the same goes for getting a co-founder. Let me paint you a picture. The plan is you get a developer and set the results that you expect at the end. You build the product, you sell the product, and you start getting a salary. But usually it doesn't work out that way. Sales are almost always too slow. The product is never finished. And clients are willing to pay, but for more features, which means more development. So unless your developer is Buddhist, rich, or crazy, the personal and financial constraints will prove to be too much, and he or she will give up. This is just the most predictable scenario. From all the startups I worked with since 2014, not one was built on a brand new relationship. From the dozens that were built on recent relationships without starting with a service contract, they all ran into trouble at some point. And among the few that powered through, they either had to redevelop from scratch or broke things off with the tech co-founders, leading to long payment negotiations. So basically, if you are going to startup events, to find CTOs or developers to become your co-founders, you are clearly on the wrong path. I am not telling you that it's impossible, but it's close. A co-founder's relationship should be built over years, and going through the challenges of starting a business is definitely not a favorable context to build a long-term business relationship. Which leads me to the solution number 2, giving away some equity. I really like to make the real difference between becoming a co-founder and giving away equity, although technically speaking, it's the same thing. The difference lies in the conditions. For example, a web agency might trade what we call IT for equity, offering to develop your first version in exchange for 10 or 30% of your company. The catch is that you have to continue developing with them in the future, costing you much more than an internal team would. And they might also charge you for app maintenance and any small changes in the software. And that's not even the worst part. They might get ownership of the source code. So in some cases, if your startup were to leave the partnership, you might be forced to redevelop the entire solution. You know, it works that way. These agencies tend to reuse core components, the component they already developed for their own needs or for others' clients. And they are not going to give it away so easily, right? In that scenario, you are getting married with an ironclad prenup, with no divorce or else, written between lines. And of course, there are some exceptions. You could get a fair deal that preserves your freedom, but it's always best to move with caution. So pay for service first, assure that you get the ownership of the developed source code, and then if everything goes well, consider exchanging equity for future developments. In other words, don't get married with an agency without exit condition. And the solution I recommend to keep full control of your company is the solution 3, paying for services. This is the safest scenario from my point of view. And no, you don't have to be rich to fund your startup. On average, I've seen successful startups gather between 10K to 20K altogether from personal investments. And all of that budget doesn't go into developing your first version. I am the first to recommend to invest less than $1,000 on the technical side before start selling. So you are obviously not going to get your fully envisioned product from €1,000 or dollars, but it should be enough to provide the expected value and sell with a bit of manual work. So remember, no coding strategy. Be willing to pay small tickets for prototyping instead of real developments. And all of this will let you create better customer experience down the road. So to conclude this section, I would like to use the quote from Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. So in other words, spend as little as you can of your precious money on the beginning. Just focus on building prototypes and use it to gain insight into your customers' wants and needs. Move safely towards software development with a mix of simple tools and one-on-one services. And remember, SaaS means software as services, which starts with building and understanding the service side of things first. So to sum up, prototypes, services will help to gather proofs that your concept will work, generating your first revenue, like BAM.Archie did, and finally start your relationship with providers on a paid service basis. And then you can reconsider them as a potential co-founder. So far, we covered the process to build a startup product, the roles of the startup CTO and how to supplement them, and how to build a digital product without big investments. Now let's imagine, what if you could build your own process, fulfilling the CTO roles? What if you could apply a non-coding strategy first, instead of searching for years for the perfect co-founders or for developers to build a final product? And finally, what if you could build your first product and along the way finding the right person for you? Don't you think you can succeed with a strategy? Do you think you can make it? So, what keeps you away from doing so? You just kind of need to become a good product manager, surround yourself with the right tech experts, learn the IT manager role, and get a startup innovator coach. So, would you be now interested to discover how I can help you with it? Do you want to know how I already helped dozens of other startups and I continue to coach a few handful on a weekly basis to overcome their challenges? Is that something that could interest you? If yes, I'm going to explain you how I work. Regarding the product manager role, we agree that the first challenges are to learn how to build a roadmap, evaluate the development cost, as well as prioritizing the features and creating small versions that can generate first revenues with the minimum investments as possible. At My CTO Friend, we provide courses on how to build roadmap, how to make your product more innovative with technologies, how to evaluate costs, plus roadmap templates, and to allow you to learn the roles while building your own company. And because we cannot anticipate all the world's questions in a video, we also provide a direct access to me and my team via Slack, a chat support software. Not only you can ask me questions and share with me specifications, developers' resume, or provider's proposal, but I also follow up with you on a weekly basis to review your goals and your achievements and to ensure that you take on that role right. And I will coach you during regular one-on-one meetings as well. All these meetings are recorded and keep private between you and I. That ensure that you apply these set strategies, these set advices correctly, and you can come back on my custom advices at any time. So for the product owner role, we provide videos, online courses, we coach you via Slack, and we also coach you in one-on-one sessions, recorded sessions, so that you can come back on it later. Now let's talk about the IT manager role. Although it's a totally separate role, we teach the IT management role to founders through the exact same process. We provide specific courses like Startup Tech Challenges from 0 to million users, but also how to select the providers, and a tons of videos on remote management, on how to control developers' work, and many other daily challenges of an IT manager, for either managing your own engineers or outsourced developers or providers. Not only we provide hands-on tips by videos and keep you in touch at Slack, but we also provide and help you define and review your own project goals, starting from your business visions to monthly goals. And we review them together on regular basis through flash calls to be sure to stick to your plan. So basically for the IT manager role, we provide videos and online courses. We coach you via Slack, a chat tool, and we also coach you in one-on-one session to be sure your deadlines will be met and that your development planning is under control. And things become even more interesting for the tech expert role. At My CTO Friend, we tend to be general CTOs. We have dozens of return on experience on hundreds of technologies, and we guide you to make good decisions for your project. But we cannot be experts ourselves in all technologies, and we cannot answer to all the world's questions, right? So behind My CTO Friend, there is a pool of technology experts. They are used to work with me, and some of them even have recorded some videos for My CTO Friend. Although they are senior profiles, they are specialized in one specific area, and we pay them to run small audits on our clients' developments. Instead of paying for full expensive audit, we like to see our experts as a pure technology expert. They provide through recorded meetings a high-level individual class, not only to evaluate your developer's work, but more specifically to help him anticipate the future by providing lots of recommendations. And we provide these services at any time without extra costs. It's just replace one of the meetings you usually have with your CTO coach. So for the tech expert role, as a general CTO, we help you identify what technology you need for your project. We help you review developers' profile and proposals, and we provide a high-level expert to evaluate your development and suggest improvements to your current team development. Expertise sessions also gives you a ruler to evaluate the sustainability of your existing solution. And last but not least, the innovator role. And after many years building a CTO consulting business first, and then My CTO Friend programs, I can say that it's what I do the best. And I personally brainstorm thousands of times, and above all, learn to funnel down to the most impactful ideas and coming to an action plan. So that's also something that takes years to learn. And being able to transform a disorganized ideas into a clear plan with the right technologies in mind to achieve it effectively is really something that you need to build a successful project. And that's something I keep doing for each of my clients. You might think, how is that possible to do it effectively remotely? It's very, very simple. I am not using technology at all. Just paper and post-it notes. And we're going to brainstorm this way. Look how it works. I perform one-on-one meetings with the help of a second camera that shares my desk and my notepad. As usual, all my meetings are recorded, which allow my clients to review the process and understand it at a deeper level later. And this process is really effective when it comes to review roadmap, find shortened solutions to build prototypes, even better for technologies to identify architecture or reduce the development costs by finding workaround or maybe new solutions, etc., etc. And like for tech expertise, we cannot have answers to all the world's questions, and that's why we also use collective intelligence to bring new ideas to our clients. So we do it in mastermind format, a well-known technique with usually 3 to 4 startups in each groups. Each startup becomes the focus of the entire group for a dedicated time. We usually start by reviewing the past goals, defining the next upcoming ones. We brainstorm, we find solutions to current difficulties. Having the entire group working on your own problems is just great and often brings new ideas with different perspectives. And participating myself at all these mastermind sessions and participating to other masterminds for more than 6 years enabled me to generate lots of new ideas and sharing them with my clients. So for the innovator role, I perform brainstorming with you through recorded one-on-one session. I share with you all the experiences I've gathered across the years. We also help you come up with new ideas through group sessions with other startups, structuring the meetings with a proven format to focus on one startup after another. And group sessions are just great because you will meet other startups that gone through the same challenges as you. And after a few sessions, everyone really helps each other. It's just amazing. And now that I've presented exactly how I work, how I help startups without CTO to succeed, do you want to know how to get access to my CTO Friend program? It's very simple. It starts on myctofriend.co/start. And the final question you might have in mind should be, yes, but how much does it cost? And I'm very transparent about it. If I select your project and if we agree to join the program after the onboarding process, you will have 3 options. First, the premium formula. It's 1,290 euro per month with private coachings, flash course, access to technology experts, monthly mastermind, weekly challenges, and retrospective via chats, and access to me and my teams for you and your development teams as well. Now, maybe you cannot afford that budget, or maybe this is too early. And in that case, that's fine. There is another option at 690 euro per month, which is basically half of the previous one. The only important difference are that I do not communicate via chat with your team and you do not have access to the technology experts. Otherwise, it's quite the same and with half of the amount of time that we dedicate to you as well. And I also have a very low cost formula without one-on-one session. But usually it takes much more time for startups founders to reach the same results without customized coaching because all startups are different. So although it's remain an option, I do not really recommend it. Now, let's just tell me something. I don't like forcing people and I am not here for that. I am just here to help you move forward no matter what, no matter if we do business together or not. And that's why I have a great surprise for you. If you apply and if we are a good fit during our first call, I'm going to offer 1 year subscription of all my CTO Friends content, courses, templates, worksheets, everything free. That includes the best technologies for your startup, the startup roadmap definitions, how to select the provider course, the startup tech challenges for 0 to millions users, plus more than 60 videos on product management and IT management. And because some of you might need more time to accomplish the funding challenges and structuring your project, you will get this free access for an entire year. Total value, 250 euro. It's on sale on my CTO Friend website. What you just need to do is to go on myctofriend.co/start and book a first call. And during that first call, just tell me the code webinar to get all these benefits. And like I did today, my only commitment is to provide you the best guidance possible in order to help you find the most cost-effective solution your startup deserves. So in conclusion, today you've learned the process to build a startup product, the rules of a startup CTOs and how to supplement them, and how to build a digital product without big investments. And as a CEO, you need to become a good product manager, surround yourself with the right tech person, learn to be a good IT manager, as well as to get a startup coach. And that's where I can definitely help you. Remember to never become dependent of anyone. Most of the time when you hire people, that's what you get. Freelancers, providers love doing things for you so that they can count on you for future incomes. That's not my vision at all. I am more than happy to lose clients when I know they hired the right person and became independent of me. Last, be sure to make the difference between a corporate CTO and a startup CTO. It's a lot more tricky to organize projects when business models are not proven yet, when we don't have well-defined budget or even specifications, when everything can happen, when we need to be able to pivot if the initial idea do not work out. That's the essence of being a startup CTO coach. It's to analyze situation and redirect to tested solutions that fits to your next challenge. Now that this presentation is over, you have a final decision to make. Either you choose to have a try and to be coached and mentored to learn what needs to be learned at the exact moment when you need it. Or you leave this meeting with lots of great ideas, lots of great info, and you go and search to fulfill these 4 roles by yourself. Reading books, buying people's time, to do everything for you instead of teaching you. This presentation is an invitation. I invite you to brainstorm with an innovator on your ideas. I invite you to build your action plan, to evaluate the cost of your development, to learn how to write down your specifications, to understand providers or developers' offers. And I invite you to learn how to present your product roadmap to incubators, to investors from a real innovation point of view so that you can get some fundings. You can get rid of any doubts about your plan. I can check your providers, your resume for your future developers, or help you choose the right technologies. You can now have someone to give you an objective feedback on any technical aspect of your project. I hope you learned a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you in our next meeting. Until then, cheers!